What's going on, guys? I hope everybody's doing well. Today's topic is going to be about atomic habits or building habits in general. When I say atomic habits, I'm talking about the book written by James Clear, which I have not read yet myself, but I just watched a podcast. It was Andrew Huberman's podcast, and he had James Clear on as a guest. And I did not even watch the entirety of the podcast. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I did watch a small portion of it, and I'm going to give you guys some of the things I pulled from it and a lot of the things that I think make for a great starting point when trying to build a new positive habit. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just mastering the art of getting started. I think getting started is the most important, and not in the sense of saying, here's a habit I want to, create, and I'm starting right now by doing it one time. Getting started each and every single day is how you continue a habit and build a habit. When I say getting started, it could be as simple as just getting out of bed and fighting that little 30-second to 5-minute window of difficulty. That's what James Clear talks about a lot. There's friction for about 30 seconds at the, usually the least, and up to 5 minutes or sometimes more. And I think that friction is the most important thing that you need to overcome whenever you want to build a positive habit in your life. And he was talking about an example where he went to a class and his coach was saying that not everybody showed up to the class because it was a rainy day and it was early in the morning. And usually not everybody shows up to that class regardless, but because of a rainy day, other people didn't. And those are the people that are kind of sketchy on showing up to the class regardless, because the reason that James Clear gathered that they are sketchy is because whenever there's any type of friction, they're not great at fighting it. And just because it was a rainy day and it wasn't the best weather and it was a little bit earlier in the morning, they chose not to show up for that class. But they're the ones that usually don't show up for the class when there's any type of friction. They always have the excuse of there was traffic, there was this, there was that, there was something that got in the way. And instead of fighting through that friction, they're not building the habit and they're not building that consistency because they haven't mastered starting. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And then he had 4 little points where he talked about making it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So I'm going to talk about those 4 little points and what I've taken from those and how I've tried to apply that to my life as well. Not just since I've watched the podcast. I've heard these points in the past when I've watched a previous podcast with James Clear. It was on the Modern Wisdom podcast with Chris Williamson. So I'm familiar with James Clear and I'm familiar with a lot of his teachings, but this just kind of reintroduced it to myself. And he talked about some things that he didn't talk about with Chris. And I just want to, reiterate it and give my own thoughts and stance on it. So with the first one, make it obvious. I'm not going to try to say exactly what he said. I'm going to more so sorry. My roommate's yelling. Okay, sorry. I don't know what was going on. But so when I say make it obvious, I'm going to, like I said, pull what my thoughts are on that and what I believe I've applied to my own life and how it's helped me. So with making it obvious, I more so think of something that stands out to me, something that is hard to ignore, and something that is, whenever I don't reach the target, I'm going to know and understand that I didn't reach it. It's going to be something that is very obvious to me. An example off the top of my head would be getting out of the bed and making my bed every single day. That's not, this is a small habit. And for me, this is a habit that's important because that habit leads to me doing other positive things for the rest of my day. And if I don't do that, if I don't do this habit right here, it's obvious and it's apparent to me because I come home to a bed that's not made. So that's, one of the examples of making it obvious and making it something that is visually obvious, something that is going to grab your attention visually. Secondly, make it attractive. Make it something that is enjoyable to do. Find pleasure in doing it. So this is just, I'll take another example, not that is aligned with the bed. Finding pleasure, and say I want to, let's think, what's something that's, negative? Smoking cigarettes, which I've never done in the first place, but say I was addicted to smoking cigarettes. The way that I would make it more attractive to stop doing it is I would replace it with something that is positive. So or something that is attractive to myself. Whenever I get the oral fixation to want to smoke a cigarette or want to get the feeling as well, I will maybe supplement it for a nicotine pouch and putting a lollipop in my mouth. And that's not better, but that's not good inherently, but it's also much better, in my opinion, than smoking a cigarette. And doing those two things makes it something that is also still enjoyable for myself and allows me to wean off of doing that habit. I've never done either of those things, so I'm probably not the best example because I can't make that applicable to myself. But again, this is me just talking off the top of my head, and I want to try to challenge myself here tonight. So that's the best example I can think of off the top of my head. Thirdly, make it easy. So another way that you can make something easy whenever you're trying to obtain a habit is by removing that friction. So like I was talking about earlier, that 30-second to 5-minute friction, the more that you can remove the friction between trying to build a new habit, the easier it's going to be to build that new habit. For example, if I want to start going to the gym more often, I'm going to make it to where I shower at work and I have my gym stuff with me, or I go from work straight to the gym and I have my gym clothes with me and I shower at the gym. However, I have to go straight from work to the gym, and removing that friction of me coming home, maybe showering, getting a little bit comfortable, making dinner. Oh, it's already kind of late. Let me not go to the gym today. I'm going to remove that friction for myself and make it to where I have my clothes packed and I'm able to shower after work if I need a shower. I'm able to go straight from work if I don't have a work that's strenuous and it makes me sweat or whatever. I'm going to go straight from work, put on my gym clothes, get that done. Then I can come home and be like, okay, now I can relax. Now I can unwind, because I feel like a lot of people tend to come home and relax and unwind, and it makes it a lot more difficult to get back into that mode mentally to go to the gym. So that's how I would remove some of that friction. That's how I would make it easier on myself. Fourthly, make it satisfying. So I'd want to give myself some sort of reward for whenever I do accomplish a task that is me building a habit that is positive. For example, I guess I'll stay with the fitness realm of things. How can I make it satisfying? I would say, fitness for me is already satisfying in and of itself, because you see an end result that happens no matter what. So that's where the satisfaction, is that correct? Satisfaction, that sounds incorrect. That's where that comes from. Satisfaction, that's what is happening. Is that a crazy brain fart? Satisfaction. I don't know where I just pulled that from. The satisfaction for me is getting to release those endorphins, getting to let out a little bit of anger, getting to have some fun in the gym, and became something that I love to do, and still even separate from the results. So that wouldn't be a good example of making it satisfying for the average Joe. So let me think of another way that you can make it satisfying. Like going on runs, you can make it satisfying by making it to where when you're done, every time I do a run that's long, you get a bit of a treat. Maybe something that's like a yogurt that you really like with dark chocolate and blueberries and almonds and all this stuff, and you have it pre-made. You make it before you go on the short little 10-minute run every single night. You make the entire thing, you put it in your fridge, you get back home, you get to have that. And it makes that treat that's still kind of healthy for yourself. If you have a protein yogurt and you have the fruits and you have the dark chocolate and everything in it to where it's still healthy, it feels like a treat because you're getting an instantaneous reward whenever you come home. And then it also is going to still be benefiting you and not setting you back. So it's not a negative reward. It's not like, oh, I'm going to make a big old fatty burger, or I'm going to make fries, I'm going to make fried chicken, just things that aren't healthy. You can still build a habit and get a positive reward of something that is also building on top of that positive habit. So yeah, I think I did a pretty decent job kind of explaining some things. I said at first that I was going to talk more so on things that were lied to me, and then all of a sudden I started talking about cigarettes and oral fixations, which are things that I don't deal with myself, so I apologize for that. But again, this is me just getting out of my comfort zone, trying to talk to you guys and challenge myself with having a blatant message and a bit of a structure, and trying to I guess just go on a tangent and see if I can bring a message that comes back together in the end. So yeah, this was me talking about Atomic Habits, how to build more positive habits, and what I took from the podcast that I watched earlier. And I only watched like 10, 15 minutes of it. Not gonna lie to you guys and say I watched the entirety of it. I'm gonna watch more of it and try to do this again and try to get better at doing it and push myself out of my comfort zone. So this is an example of a video that is a little bit different than what I usually do. I always try to push myself and make a video where I go on these little tangents and I talk and I try to have conscientious thoughts that come back together at the end. But usually I have a little bit more structure for myself and some more notes and things to pull from, or I at least will go over what I'm going to talk about in my head a little bit beforehand. Here I didn't do any of that. I had a little bit of structure, and then I tried to just freeball it, and I think I did a pretty decent job, and I think we're getting better and more comfortable with talking to the camera. Here today, I think I struggle a little bit with just talking way too quickly to you guys, and that kind of throws me off whenever I tend to do that. So forgive me for talking quickly. I'll try to work on that as well. I think I did pretty decent. I'm not saying like or as much as I tend to do so. So I'm a little bit proud of myself there. This is also just an accountability video, a little bit of a checkpoint. So yeah, I hope you guys took something from this as well, and I hope you guys have an amazing night. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a blessed one.